Hola clase, today we're going to talk about the present tense of stem changing verbs, also known as boot verbs. You were given a packet in class today and you need to fill out the packet according to the presentation. So we're going to start with the 5 steps that are the boot verb conjugations. So here we go, steps in conjugating a boot verb. You can pause this and write these down as I say them because I'm going to say them kind of quickly. So step 1, identify the stem by dropping the AR, ER, and IR. So you just drop the ending to find your stem. Step 2, identify what type of stem changer it is. There are 4 different types: E to IE, O to UE, E to I, or U to UE. You don't have to worry about all the different types of stem changers right now because we're only going to be focusing on E to I. So for this presentation and for today's lesson, you're only going to be talking about E to IE stem changers. Step 3, you're going to draw your boot by outlining all of the houses except the nosotros and the vosotros form. Step 4, you change the stem of the verb inside of the boot and leave the stem unchanged outside of the boot. And we're going to talk about this in the next slide. And your last step is you're going to add your regular endings for AR, ER, and IR verbs. So you're going to conjugate just like you've been doing as far as the endings. So here we go. Let's see what this looks like. So the first verb we're going to talk about is entender, which means to understand. Entender is an ER verb. If I drop the ER, it leaves me with the stem, intend. Now, the first step says to figure out what your stem is. So my stem is intend. The second step tells you, is it an E to IE stem changer? Why, yes it is. So we've identified that. Step 3 tells you to draw your boot. So on your houses sheet, I want you to outline all of the houses except the 4th and 5th house. When you do this, it kind of looks like a boot. Step 4 then says to change the E to IE in your stem. So your new stem now will be entiend, and you're going to write that inside of the boot. So you write your new stem inside of the boot. Outside of the boot, the stem stays the same, so intend. And then this is an ER verb. So an ER verb, your endings are O, S, E, emos, ice, N. So your houses of entender look like this. Yo entiendo, tú entiendes, él, ella, usted entiende, nosotros entendemos, vosotros entendáis, and then ellos, ellas, ustedes entienden. So inside the boot your stem changes, outside the boot stays the same, then all of your houses have your normal endings that you've learned before. Let's try this again. You have empezar, pensar, cerrar, preferir, and querer. All of these are the verbs that we're going to be talking about and that you'll be completing the houses for. So your next word is cerrar. Cerrar means to close. If I drop the AR ending of cerrar, my stem is CERR, so ser. I know it's an E to IE stem changer. My step 3 tells me to draw my boot. I take the E and I change it to IE inside of the boot. Outside of the boot, it stays ser. Then this is an AR verb, so my endings are O, as, a, amos, ice, on. So your houses of cerrar are cierro, cierras, cierra, cerramos, cerráis, cierran. Alright, our next word we're going to talk about is empezar. Empezar means to start. If I drop the AR, my stem is empez. It is an E to IE stem changer. Now you might ask yourself, okay, in empez, there's 2 E's. How do I know which E to change? You always change the second E of the stem. And you'll see that again in another verb. Where there's 2 E's in the stem, you always change the second E. So we're going to draw our boot. We're going to change this E to IE, giving us our new stem of empiez. Outside of the boot, it stays the same. It is an AR verb, so my AR endings are o, as, a, amos, ais, on. So you have empiezo, empiezas, empieza, empezamos, empezáis, empiezan. Alright, your next one is pensar. Here's your boot. See what you can do. See if you can do this. So you can pause your video here, fill out the houses, and then check back to see if it's right. Alright, if you check back, this is what your boot should look like. You have piens as your stem change. You have pens on the outside, and it's an AR verb, so your endings are o, as, a, amos, I, on. So it looks like this. Pienso, piensas, piensa, pensamos, pensáis, piensan. Now, the verbs querer and preferir, we use them to express desire and preferences, and they're pretty important stem-changing verbs that have multiple uses, and we'll get into that. So, querer, draw your boot, the E to IE stem change. Your new stem is quier. Inside the boot, outside the boot is quer. It's an ER verb, so O, S, E, hemos, I, N. We have quiero, quieres, quiere, queremos, queráis, quieren. So you say quieren with a K. When used with a thing as a direct object, querer means to want. Like yo quiero Taco Bell, we talked about, is I want Taco Bell. That was their slogan. Now let's look at this scenario. The waiter is asking the lady what she wants. He says, ¿Quiere un sándwich de pollo? And she says, sí, y quiero papas fritas también, por favor. So he's asking if she wants a chicken sandwich, and she says, yes, with french fries. I want french fries too. Now, when used with a person as a direct object, querer means to love. And you'll hear this often. Quiero mucho a su hija, señor Vega. So he says, not I want your daughter, but I love your daughter. In the next scenario, let's look at this. The guy's saying, te quiero, Teresa. And she says, yo también. And then he goes a little crazy and says, yo te quiero más que tú a mí. And he's like, no igual, so not the same. Yo te quiero más, pero mucho más, Teresa. And then he goes, even more. Yo te quiero más, mucho más, pero mucho, mucho más. Te quiero muchísima más. So he's saying how much he really loves her. So see if you can figure that out. So te quiero means I love you. Alright, our next word we're going to talk about is preferir. You drop the IR, that's your ending, and then this is your stem. Notice there's two E's. You always go for the second E. So your new stem is prefier. Outside it stays the same. And then you add on your IR endings, which are O, S, E, emo, is, N. So prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, preferís, prefieren. So, of course, it means to prefer. It's a cognate. So let's look at the scenario again. He says, ¿Quiere un sándwich de pollo? She says, no, señor, prefiero una hamburguesa. So she's changing the verb. Both querer and preferir can be used with an infinitive directly after them. We start with an appropriate person number of querer or preferir, so conjugated form of querer. And then you add your infinitive. Estudiar, escribir, viajar, bailar, leer, comer. So it means I want to do something. So if I say quiero estudiar, it means I want to study. If I say I don't want to study, I'd say no quiero estudiar. Let's look at this. It says, Rafael quiere esquiar, pero su novia prefiere patinar. So Rafael wants to ski, but his girlfriend prefers to skate.
Hey, it's Mateo!
So let's look at pensar and how we use it. How to use pensar to say thinking and planning. So pensar basically means to think. So me gusta ir al parque para pensar y descansar. I like to go to the park to think and rest. Pensar en means to think about. So Gabriela siempre piensa en sus estudios. Or I could ask you, ¿en qué piensas? What are you thinking about? Girls tend to ask guys that all the time. Then you have pensar de, means to think of, and it's asking for an opinion. Like, what do you think of this? Pensar que means to think that. Like if I say, I think that your dress is cute, you would say, yo pienso que tu vestido es muy lindo. And it also has a special use. If you use it with an infinitive, it means you plan to do something. So it changes it from think to plan. So if I want to say, pensamos escuchar música en el parque esta tarde, we are thinking about, or we plan on, I'm sorry, we are no longer thinking about it, but we plan on listening to music in the park. And with that, I am done. Buena suerte. Hasta mañana.